What's up, Mentors Collective? As you well know, creating content could be the difference between your brand succeeding and your brand failing. And your competitors are doing it. All of the gurus that you listen to are telling you that you need to create content. But what do you do if you don't operate in an industry that you feel is very interesting? And I feel, at least in my experience, this is the case 9 out of 10 times. Well, on this episode, we're going to tell you how you can take whatever you do that's not interesting and create content around it to grow your business. Because if you're sleeping on the content, you're going to fall behind. So we're going to dive deep in this episode. And to help me with this, I brought in a friend that I've been following on Instagram, someone who is a content master who has done this. He's taken something that's not that sexy and built a content empire around it. And it's transformed his business, and he is going to teach you how to transform your own. With that being said, I want to welcome Neil Dhingra. He's a digital creator who uses content marketing to scale his real estate business and also to help others in the industry do the same. So Neil, I want to thank you for joining me on the show and spending a few minutes with our audience. I'm super excited to talk with you today about this subject.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, Jay. I appreciate it. And also, I follow your stuff too, and you're not so bad of a content creator yourself, huh?
And I appreciate that. And years of practice and trial and error and, working with different studios and equipment and figuring out how to systemize it so that I can do it efficiently. It's a lot of stuff and it can be intimidating, right? I've better than anyone coming out of these educational things that you go to and courses that you take. It's an overload, and having to go home and try to figure it out yourself is tough.
It is, yeah. And there's always something new to learn, right? Like right now there's short form content is taking the world. I mean, TikTok's exploded. I think they just surpassed YouTube in time spent in app by users, right? So short form content is taking over. Now Instagram has reels and short form content's dominating Instagram. And like now if you're watching all this stuff happen, you're like, shit, I have to keep learning a new thing and I have to keep adapting and it can be overwhelming for sure. And that's, kind of like a lot of the stuff we help people in my industry. It would work for any industry, but especially in my industry, I'm familiar with that because a lot of people in real estate and finance are older. The average age is mid 40s. That might sound shocking to people, but these are people that did not grow up with social media. They didn't grow up with the iPhone. They're not used to seeing themselves on camera or taking selfies, right? So they're even harder to convince. But what's cool is once you get used to it, it's not that difficult. You just need like that initial set of knowledge, and then the practice, the reps, and then like you said, after years of reps, now you don't think anything of it when you pull your phone out and do your stories, right? It's just part of your daily activity, and so that's where you can really get to the point of where you're truly comfortable putting yourself out there, and then you get all the benefits of being a content creator and social media and all that stuff.
Yeah, 100%. And I think there's several points where people get stuck and overwhelmed on this, right? There's the comfort level, being able to just kind of sit down, pull out your phone and be comfortable with yourself on screen, I think is scary for a lot of people. 2, I think a lot of people have like the writer's block. Like, what the hell are you going to talk about? Especially if you're in an industry like real estate, and you'll go into it on how you figure out what you're going to talk about. And then 3, I feel like everybody gets so hung up on quality. They won't put content out unless it's got perfect audio, visual, lighting, and that's just a big mistake. So I think on this episode, we tackle all 3, and we'll end with kind of the studio setup, what equipment that you need, because I know that's a popular question that I get asked. I'm sure you as well. But let's start tackling these things and breaking it down for people, because it's daunting. We're going to make it super simple. So
yep, that's awesome, and I'm with you on that.
Cool. And if there's any other points that you want to bring up that you think are also super important, man, you're the master. Let's hear them. But I feel like a good place to start would be that initial fear, because that fear is what holds people back from starting. And if you don't start, you're not going to get good. So how do you beat that?
Yep. So like I said, you're not used to seeing yourself. So you think this is some huge thing to put yourself out there. But in reality, look at the content that's out there right now. A lot of it, the bar is very low, right? There's content creators, which you guys, we all put on these guys on a pedestal, but the average person is posting, pictures that aren't the best pictures. They're posting videos that aren't the best quality videos. And there's this flood of content coming at the user. So you have to realize like you're not that important where, you think people are thinking about you in this. Just think about the way you consume content. You swipe through. If something doesn't really connect with you or it's not applicable to you, just keep scrolling. So for example, when I first started making content, nobody watches your content because it's bad, to be frank. You're just not effective on camera. You're not comfortable. You can't even be yourself really. But the only way to get past that is to literally do it. So when you start doing it, you don't have to worry about a bunch of people judging you because only your mom and your sister are probably going to be watching that video, right? Like it's just it's like your people in your close network, your friends, family, they'll give you the encouragement to keep going. But you're not going to get like a bunch of people watching your content because the algorithm's not even going to show it to anybody because it's bad, essentially. Unless you get lucky and you can go viral in the first months of creating your videos. But for the most part, it's a slow grind in the beginning. So you're putting in the reps, putting yourself out there. And what you'll find is you'll get more comfortable. And at some point along the way, this could be month 2, this could be month 6, could be month 13, you get comfortable with just being yourself and you stop thinking about, oh, how is this going to be interpreted? Or it's always in the back of your head, but you stop like putting that as the first thought. You can just turn the camera on and talk like you would normally talk to somebody. So it'd be like this conversation being filmed. So if me and Jay ran into each other at a bar and he asked me a question about content creation, I would just answer him. Like if that were being filmed, that would be the video. And so that's what happens. Eventually you could just be yourself like you would be in a face-to-face conversation and then go from there. And then for people that say, I don't really like the way I look, that's twofold. Like there's two things. One is if you got up today, you got dressed, you went to work or you went out there, put yourself out there. I don't think that you are pissed off. Like, I don't think that you're worried about yourself looking bad. Like you got ready for the day, you went out there and you put yourself out there. You may not be happy with everything that, as far as looks go, but you're reasonably confident in how you appear to the other people. So that's how you look on video. It's the same thing. The only difference is maybe, you don't like the lighting or whatever, like you talked about earlier, the quality, and that's easily solved. You don't have to be a video creator or anything. You just have to have better light. So if you don't like the way you look on camera, I would just recommend to go outside, shoot with natural light. If you're in Miami, you're in Florida, I always see you outside. It's no coincidence that like you look better outside. All those friends and people you're hanging out with, the sun makes you look better because light is important, right? So if anybody's listening to this and they're like, yeah, I took some videos, I look horrible, it's probably because you were in a badly lit room. So that's one thing without getting into equipment yet. Just think about light.
Yeah, that's a huge one. And I'm excited to talk to you about light towards the end of this one. I'm a big light guy.
Yeah.
But you're right. Putting yourself out there is scary. And I feel like that first several months of starting, like not only do you not have an audience, it's like talking to a ghost, but you're bad.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's good when they start. Sure, there's naturals, but there's such a learning curve and a comfort curve to actually being confident enough to be able to hook people and not make them feel awkward watching you. And the only way to beat that is repetition, put it out there. Yeah, you'll get that initial judgment. You'll feel stupid talking to nobody, and people might point and laugh from their computers like, look, he's got 3 views and it's not a good video. But that's a temporary process and it's over. And the only way to get over that hump is to just get out there and start doing it.
And you're going to spend your whole life thinking, what's it going to look like for me to put content out there with nobody watching? Like you said, 5 views, 8 views, or even people think 50 views is bad, whatever it is for your mental opinion, right? So you're gonna spend your whole, career worried about what does somebody think about that, when in reality nobody thinks much of it at all.
No, they're
just
scrolling
a flash
past
in the pan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Scroll.
That's why there's not many views, because people just scrolled past. They didn't even see the video. So it's a problem that it doesn't really exist to the same level that people think it does. Nobody's looking down on you. And in fact, many people are silently looking at that and saying, I wish I had the courage to do it myself.
Exactly. And they do. Not a lot of people get to the point where they work up the courage to be able to put themselves out there and do it. So just by getting out there and whipping out a video camera and making pictures, you're in the 1%. Most CEOs, most content creators will never do that. People are watching saying, I want to do that. I want to be that. The number one, I thought this was super interesting when I read it, It used to be the number one most desirable job was to be a doctor. Nowadays, you know what kids want to be more than anything else in the world? They want to be
YouTuber.
They want to be a YouTuber. Everybody's watching these kids just crush it on YouTube. They have, money, fame, freedom, everything that comes along with it, but they never saw the struggle that they went through making those first videos, the courage that those YouTubers had to have to get 0 views and create bad content and put it out there year in and year out. And They're not special. It's just working up the courage and doing it. And I wish I had a secret sauce for people to build the confidence and have the confidence to do it. But I don't know. I think it's binary. You're gonna do it or you're not. You're gonna give up. You're gonna keep going.
Yeah, and to give people context, like I was the last dude. I'm not Mr. Extrovert, big time networker. I'm a nerd. I'm an introvert. But here's what I did. I started to do it. You get more comfortable. Your confidence builds. So the cool thing about content creation, Jay, is like the more content you create, the more you put yourself out there, your confidence grows. And this helps you in every other aspect of life. Now you get more clients. Now, if you're trying to get that girl or whatever, like you're comfortable going up to her and just talking to her, right? Like I'm surprised. Like I used to be nervous about speaking, public speaking. Now I'm comfortable, right? So all the things that you used to be kind of like shy about, by doing content creation, it helps with all those aspects of your life as well. And we all know that like consumers, clients, other, friends, whatever, everyone is attracted to confidence, right? They like that. And that's how you can sell more. That's how you can do more. And you just find more success because of that whole thing working together.
100%. I love that you said that. It's a conversation that I actually had about a month ago. I was with another podcast host and I was talking about the benefit of just podcasting on your social life, on sales, on getting that girl that you've always wanted or the guy that you've always wanted. It just breaks that fear paralysis and helps you be able to generate words off the top of your tongue and not having to worry about what you sound like or what you look like. And that all comes with...
Yeah, you become a better communicator. Like one platform nobody really talks about much is Twitter. Yeah. Like Twitter, I don't use it that much, but I started to use it more last year and it made me a better writer, right? Because you have to communicate in only so many characters. So now I can get to the point quicker. Like you only have so much bandwidth. And I noticed the less I said, the better it worked, right? So you can simplify things. And that's how you can do in your video too. I think especially people who are experts at what they do or who have been doing it a long time, they have a tendency to over explain. And that's good in a client setting. You want to give full information and context, right? But like in a setting where I'm meeting you for the very first time, simple would be better, right? I would rather be clear than clever because I want you to understand what I'm saying, and then you can watch my longer videos and stuff. So it does make you a better communicator doing content. It makes you a more confident person. It just helps, like you said, in all aspects of your communication.
Yeah, and I think it makes you a better marketer and salesperson too, right? Because there's people that are watching your video. You have 3 seconds to keep their attention. And then deliver value.
Yeah, it used to be 8, then it went to 5, now it went to 3.
Yeah, it's probably going to keep getting shorter too. But exactly, you have to know what you're going to say in that initial hook that's going to keep them throughout the video. You're going to give them a cliffhanger. Like we said, we're going to talk about studio equipment last because I know that's what people are probably watching this episode for, to keep them throughout the entire time. It makes you a better salesperson. It makes you a better marketer. Those skills are so transferable. And just kind of hidden gems and benefits that people overlook, but it does. It makes you a better entrepreneur.
Big time, man. Like, it doesn't even matter the industry. We're going to talk about real estate content, but like you said, boring doesn't necessarily mean not engaging. You just have to have a good hook to start off.
Exactly. And with that, let's kind of transition into objection number 2, right? Which is, my industry is boring. There's no way that I'm going to create content around this subject matter that people are going to care about. So you did it. Walk me through that thought process and how others can go about that.
Yeah. So what I thought was, these consumers that reach out about real estate or real estate finance, mortgages, whatever, they all have similar questions. They're all Googling things, right? And they're asking these questions in the initial consult. So I'm like, well, if they have those questions, more people are gonna. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that have the same question. They just don't ask, or they never go through with it, or they don't know who to ask. So they just kind of sit on those questions. So what if the videos we're just answering the common questions consumers have. And you don't have to guess. If you've been doing your job for a number of years, you're getting a lot of this data from clients. So this is real-time data, real life data. And you can go to sites like Google Trends. You can go to answerthepublic.com, and you can pull up actual Google searches that people are typing in the keyboard, asking questions about your industry. So now those are the topics. So I started out with informational videos, putting out to people, just consumers. Then what happened was, even doing poorly produced videos, and I'm not even comfortable on camera, I started to see some results from that, where people are like, "Oh, thanks for telling me." Even tips on buying properties, common mistakes people make, credit, finance, all that stuff that people think is kind of boring. They don't teach this in school. So it's funny how people are going to you talk about YouTube. People are going to YouTubers for their financial education now, right? They're typing in Google and they're learning on their own how to do whatever they want to do, right? So now you can be part of that ecosystem where you're educating people on a small local level in the beginning in your community, and then you can expand into bigger and bigger. And people really prefer local experts, I noticed. They want this from us, and there's not enough voices in each market. So you may be thinking you're in a boring industry. There are people who need the information. So whatever you have up here, you're just literally putting that out in the content. And then there's more effective ways of doing that, which then you get more reach. So you're starting off with just T-chart, questions I get from clients, problems my clients face. Other side, how I answer those questions, how I solve those problems. Those are the topics of videos for information. The second part of content, it's either information or it's entertainment. So information is that part. Entertainment, I'm not an entertaining guy. I'm not a comedian. I can't dance on TikTok, whatever, right? So how could I entertain people? Well, did you realize that 1 billion people went to Zillow last year to look at homes? Those people aren't all buying homes. Looking at real estate is a pastime. It's a hobby for some people. They like looking at shit. I like doing that. How many of us have looked at property that you have no intention of buying? I just want to look at, I was in Miami, where Jay's at. I'm just curious, what does it cost to live down here? This place is badass. The weather's amazing. I just want to know, what does a condo cost? So I used to go to Zillow, I'm on Sunny Isles Beach. I was looking at the buildings behind me. What is the cost to live in this building? I find out it's $2.5 million. I'm showing it to my wife. Look at these, we're not buying that, but it's just fun to look at real estate. So what you'll find is you will create quick tours of properties. You will show what you're doing, a property you bought, a property your client bought. What does $400,000 buy you in Nevada? What does $1 million get you in Miami? These are all topics that people want to watch. And then people will object to me and say, well, Neil, what good is it if all these people watch this video who have they're just window shoppers. They're not going to transact. How am I going to make money on that? Well, the point is, by making engaging content, people watch it. The algorithm says, hey, this is a good video. So it shows it to more people. By showing it to more people, now you have a chance to reach someone who could transact with you. So that happens to me all the time where, you get all these views, that's top of the funnel. And at the bottom of the funnel, there's 7 people who actually are interested in working with you. So the more people you can reach, the more engaging you can make your content, the more people you reach. Then at the bottom, you're going to have people who actually DM you, reach out to you, and want to do business with you.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of different, media platforms that you can publish on. YouTube's just one example. Beautiful thing about YouTube is it's evergreen, right? I mean, you can search for the question and a video from 8 years ago could still be the top shown response. So you can create one piece of content today and it continue to drive traffic and leads for a decade. There's very few things that do that out there that are free. So it really is a pretty powerful and amazing thing, and also goes to the point where the sooner you start, the better, because it'll give it more time to actually do that. And I also want to kind of add to the first argument where it's okay to do something that's not in a sexy space. It's might even be beneficial in some areas, especially with the overload of content that's coming out. I want to argue that the least competitive spaces, the most open markets, are the ones that are going to be the least sexy. So things like real estate, people in construction or manufacturing or supply chain, things that are generally thought of as boring. My guess is if you're in that boring industry, there's not a lot of people creating great content. That's an open market for you to be the first, the only, and become a name brand there. When people are searching, they're going to see you. If you're doing something that is sexy, the digital marketing, entrepreneurship, motivation, you go on there and search for any of those things, you're going to have a really hard time competing in those spaces. So the least sexy you are might actually work to your benefit in a lot of cases.
Yeah, and a lot of people have a multitude of interests. Like for me, I'm into real estate and finance, but then also I'm into digital marketing. Now I'm into content creation. Then I'm into entrepreneurial space and business motivation. I like all this stuff, right? And so what happens is, in the beginning, you really need to pick your lane, like you just said, because that's where people will follow you for. If I said I do 12 things, follow Neil, like most likely as a new creator, they're not going to. So like jack of all trades, master of none, right? So in the beginning, I got to say, hey, I will teach you, I'll simplify the process of buying real estate, or I'll make it easy to buy a home, or, let me teach you about building wealth through real estate. And then as you get an audience, now I could talk about entrepreneurship. I could talk about digital marketing. I could talk about anything. But in the beginning, it's important to just go narrow. And a cool thing you brought up with YouTube about these videos lasting a long time, you have to think about this. Creating a YouTube video is an asset. You just created a digital asset. Because when you get your channel to a certain point, that is going to produce either leads, or in certain cases, if you ever get your channel to a certain level, it will produce income from ads, right? So you think about this, you create a video once, it lives on YouTube for a decade, and it's working for you. So right now, I have videos on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. These videos are speaking for me. So I'm on a call with Jay. Somebody's watching one of my videos on YouTube. Somebody's watching one of my reels on Instagram. These are members of my sales team now. So you have to think of them as you've like literally duplicated yourself on the internet. And then in a business where people, commonly don't scale, it's individual sales. They never want to like hire more people because they're like, I do it the best. I don't want to give away, So in this case, how would you like to duplicate yourself? You guys talk about how you're the best salesperson. Well, just put yourself on video. Now you've duplicated yourself. And it's an excellent way to get some level of scale, even as a solopreneur. So, everybody talks about scaling their business. First step to scale your business is to put yourself on the internet. Now you've got, some level of scale. Then you could build a team and hire people and all that stuff eventually. But it's a great way to get started with scale.
Yep, 100% agree. And especially nowadays, I'm creating content on TikTok, I'm creating content on Instagram. When somebody asks me a question that I've answered before in a YouTube video, it's so easy to just direct them over to the YouTube video. Not only does it establish you as an expert, but you get more views. People, they're going to share it. And it's just, it's an asset. Like you said, you can continue to use it and profit from it. And just kind of expanding on one other thing, because this actually hurt me as a creator when I was starting. And, I still suffer with this, was choosing your lane, which is a very hard thing to do for a lot of people. And everybody thinks, shoot broad, you'll create some good content, people will find me. But especially when you're starting, you need to cater to a very specific audience. And making that decision is really hard for a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs who are so distracted and have 10 different projects and companies and interests. Picking one thing, I run a PR agency, I have a podcast, I'm a medical doctor, I do a lot of healthcare content, and it's pulling me in a lot of different directions. So this is something I suffered with for a long time, and eventually decided, okay, I'm passionate about men's health. I'm going to go all in on this for a long time and see if that serves me. But for a long time, it was marketing, it was entrepreneur stuff, it was healthcare stuff, I did some finance stuff. I talked about investing for a little while, which was not my lane at all. And didn't really start seeing any success until we niched down. So just want to emphasize the importance of that, which is picking as narrow of a lane as you can. And a common misconception is it's too small, and you are wrong. I try and find a slice of a segment, and I promise you there's millions of people there that will identify with your channel and will follow your channel for that little slice of the pie.
Big time, man. Yeah, you would think that you need to cast a wide net to catch everybody because you would like anybody and anybody to follow you in the beginning, but no, people won't follow you because of that. So it's definitely important to pick your lane, and you can mix it up in your stories. You can mix it up with this, but like as far as your feed content or your YouTube content, it should be narrow. and one thing and one topic, and also that trains the algorithm on these platforms of what is this person's content, who is this for? Because algorithms are getting more and more advanced. People say that they're getting more difficult, but the truth is they're just getting better, right? It's like machine learning. So it's supposed to give the viewer what they would want so they can keep them on the platform. How is it going to present your content to somebody if the algorithm doesn't know what your content is? If every day you talk about a different topic. So if I'm going to talk about finance, then I better talk about finance for the next 6 months, because right around that time, the algorithm is going to say, Neil has engaging content about this topic. This viewer has shown that they like this type of content. I'm going to go ahead and present Neil's video to this person and see what they think. So we need to make that connection with the algorithm. And I made the same mistake you did, Jay. I was talking about too many different things in the beginning and not getting any traction because of it. Because I thought if any random person comes to this account, I want to like get that person somehow, you know?
Yeah.
So it is a common mistake. You're right.
100%. And want to also validate the algorithms are very smart. If you have 100 people that started following you because you were creating real estate content, and now all of a sudden you start creating crypto content, and they're going to see that in their feeds probably the first time because the algorithm knows they like your content. They usually engage with it. They're going to see the crypto posts. They're going to scroll right by them without liking them. That's going to happen a couple times. Boom, those people are going to stop seeing your content. So you got to give them what they followed you for. You do that, and they'll keep seeing it. They'll keep engaging with it. Your account and your content will be shown to new people that are also interested in those things. And that's the secret sauce to growth. And people think there's all kinds of hacks and the algorithm's working against them, but it's not. It's just smart.
Yeah, big time. And you do see people who have a broad audience, and you see these big creators, especially on social, less on YouTube, because YouTube, I think people stay in their lane a lot more because that's their bread and butter. On Instagram, you'll see big creators who are running 12 different businesses and doing this, doing that, and they talk about whatever they want. You know, like you got Gary Vee talking about business and entrepreneurship, then he's talking about NFTs, then he's talking about sports cars, then he's talking about this, and you're like, oh, so I can do that. No, like he earned the right to do that because he has 5 million people that bought into the brand of him, and they're willing to go wherever he goes. Now he could talk about wine again. People love it, you know? So you can broaden it out as you get better, as you have a strong brand, I think. So that's the time to kind of start going out into different topics once you've got that audience already.
Exactly. And great point with Gary Vee. Also, I saw you met him. That's super cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. Like, and he told me the same thing. He said, talk about financial fitness, talk about how you can use real estate to build wealth. Cause I was asking Gary, I was like, how should you guys say do more content? Like, what should I do? And it's kind of boring. And he's like, no, it's not. People love to learn how they could save money or build wealth. So real estate's a tool for that. Why don't you talk about that? You know, and just continue talking about that. So that way people have a reason to continue following you even in between those transactions. Cause in my business, somebody may only need my services once every 5 to 7 years. So you know, it's like a needle in a haystack. But if they have a reason to follow along the way in between, because they're getting helpful tips, hacks, advice, now all of a sudden you create a viable audience, you know, in between transactions.
How long did it take you to build your audience up to a point where it started to be profitable and fun?
So it was about 6 months till I saw like some level of interest, and I had very few followers, like maybe a couple thousand followers if you even added up all the platforms. But what I noticed was if you're in a high margin business and you put yourself out there and you have some knowledge to share, you will see results because just your sphere seeing it is of value, because now you're top of mind versus your competitors. Because like you said, Jay, there's very few people who put themselves out there, who have the courage to do it, and who are consistent. It's the same reason why you like go to the gym. It's empty, right? Like in the morning, right? There's very few, everybody knows what to do. Very few people execute consistently. So this is one area where like you could start to have fun with it. So it's not even a drag, but in the beginning it is, because you're not getting anything. So I think it takes about like 6 months before you get a little bit better at doing the content, and B, enough people have seen it to where that top of mind awareness has linked you to be the person referred to. So you'll start getting directly through DMs, some traction, and then also more referrals traditionally through email, phone, whatever. However you were getting referred clients before, that will go up because you have that top of mind awareness.
Yeah, 100%. With that, let's transition into kind of the next fun thing, which is going to be production. Something everyone's super excited about. I'm passionate about it. And I know we spoke briefly before the episode started about some of this. And I'm excited to make this really easy for people. We live in a day and age where it doesn't cost $10,000 to get studio quality production. People aren't going to know the difference between a $1,000 setup and a $10,000 setup in many cases if done and executed properly. So let's get into that, because that's a major objection. People thinking they need the hottest equipment, they need a dedicated space, they need an editor, all this stuff. So where do you start with people that you talk to about content when it comes to equipment?
So yeah, for equipment, I would say this iPhone is amazing. Like, this is just, I don't even think this is the latest one.
Have you seen the 13 yet?
Yeah, I see. It's amazing. Right? So I think I have like 2 versions ago, and this camera is better than 90% plus of the cameras out there. And so you can use that as long as you have better light. So we touched on this in the beginning. To get a light so that you appear, people can see your face, right? So you just need to be seen, you need to be heard, right? That's all you need. I mean, if you're in dark, people can't see you. If there's no audio, people can't hear you. So at a base level, they just need to be seen and heard. From there, you can go up, but the point, you reach a point of diminishing returns. So if I trade in my iPhone, which is $1,000 for a $5,000 or a $10,000 setup, the increase is not 5x or 10x in views. It could be a decrease in views. It could be an increase, but it's really very based on the topic that you're talking about and the quality of like your message. So the message is important, whether you can be seen and heard. So a quick, tip for everybody is use what you have first, which is your iPhone. Everyone's got an iPhone by now. And then, as long as you go outside, it's lit, like we talked about sunlight. If you want to buy a light, there are really easy tools like ring lights, I think less than $100. If you want to get a more professional light, it's called a softbox. That gives you, the reason why I call it a softbox is it's more similar to natural light. It's soft, it's not harsh. And so that type of light will give you a natural look. And that's going to be more important than the camera. So I would say first invest in light, and then use your iPhone. I shot many videos with my iPhone, and people DM me afterwards. I've shot reels that have reached 100,000 people, and they'll say, "What did you shoot this on?" in the comments or in the DMs. I'll say my iPhone, and they'll be like, "Seriously?" I'm like, "Yes, it's an iPhone, but I have a light in the office, so the light makes you look, makes it look better." So that's the equipment part. And then if you want to step up your game, like today, I'm recording this podcast. I know audio is important for the podcast, so I bought a $99 Rode mic. This is a USB mic, but it makes you sound better. The quality of your audio is better. So as you get further along, you want to like up the game. You can do it in increments, but don't think that you have to go out and spend $5,000 or $10,000 on equipment. It's not necessary.
Especially with iPhones nowadays, man. And if you're not an expert, producer, filmmaker that really knows how to adjust the settings to your environment on a camera.
That's a really important point.
It is. You're going to get better quality on your iPhone. It's smarter. It's not designed for filmmakers. It's designed to adapt to whatever environment that you're in, whatever light that you're in, and spit out the best possible image. Whereas a camera is not designed to do that. You really need to, you need a lens, you need to know all the settings, you need to adjust the autofocus. It's a lot of stuff that goes into
there's like 8 settings. I do a lot of video, and I don't know how all this shit works. I got a guy here who helps me with it.
Same.
But the thing is, there are 7 settings in there. Like there's the ISO, the frame rate, like you talked about, the exposure. And if you don't know all those settings, you could have a $10,000 camera setup that looks like garbage because you don't know how to set all those settings. So what I found was like even my first DSLR camera, because I wanted to make higher quality studio look, YouTube videos, I got that used from another creator on eBay who was selling and upgrading their equipment. So I got like a 3-year-old Sony DSLR and I used that. And then at some point after I learned that and I kind of got comfortable with it, then I upgraded. So you start with the phone. Most of my content shot with the phone, and then you can move up from there. Another really important point, Jay, about using the phone is when you shoot with the DSLR, think of the friction. So if I want to shoot like a quick informational video, I shoot it with the DSLR. I got to take the memory card out. I got to get into the computer. I got to edit that video. Then I got to export it. Then I got to get it back to my phone or upload it to whatever platform. That's, people do that and content creators do that workflow. But you know what's faster is shooting with your phone and then hitting upload.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't forget changing the battery every 20 minutes on the camera. It's a lot of friction.
So, and editing, and how much content I have on these cards on cameras that we never edited the content. Like, you go on a trip, you shoot all this content, you get back, you're busy. You don't have time to edit it. Versus on the phone, you can just get it quickly out there. So, you can get it. You can, even in these apps now, they have easy editing. For example, on Instagram, there's a Reels editor. You can make quick cuts. You can trim a video really easily. Even in your iPhone, just in the Photos app, you want to cut off the beginning or the end, there's just a bar literally that moves it, and you can trim it, and then you could post it. And it just removes all that friction of work.
Yeah, 100%. So my advice, same as you, for people starting, man, use the phone, especially these 12s and 13s. The 13 has cinematic mode on their video. It's probably the biggest update on there. So you see how my background's blurred right now? You get that same effect on an iPhone, but probably with better light adaptation, better autofocus, all of the stuff that they've just built in to be smarter. You don't need a DSLR. You don't need a $5,000 Sony A7. Fucking put your iPhone on a cheap mount. Get a decent microphone. Just got this little new one, a little Rode SmartLab, $40. Plug that straight into the iPhone, and I get studio quality audio and video for almost no money. The iPhone's a sunk cost. You already paid for that. But
you need that for life.
For
right?
life. You already paid for that.
Yeah, that's gone. It's not additional cost. Yeah. And now a mic, like you talked about that mic, that's $100, $200 max. You can get a wireless lav mic for your iPhone. And if you're close, I would say within selfie distance to the iPhone, the audio is fine. The only time you need a mic is if you're like have it on a tripod, like a stand, and it's a little bit further away. You definitely want that mic. And the reason why is because nobody likes coming to your video in the feed and not being able to hear, and they have to turn it all the way up, and they can still hear the room air, and they're not really hearing you. So when the audio is like punchy, that is better. Like, people can clearly hear what you're saying. You have better retention on your videos.
Yeah, 100%. And if you're going to do a podcast with somebody, invest in one of these mics. This was like $80. It's a Blue Yeti. Super easy setup. Connects right into the computer. I know you said that's a Rode that you've got over there.
Yeah, this is a Rode USB. I think it's called an NT. Yeah, the NT USB mic. And this is amazing mic. Like, the audio quality is really good, and it works for Zooms, for podcasting. You could take the audio file and put it as a video and use it for your videos as well. But there are other ones that you can plug in directly to your iPhone that Rode makes as well, like the one you just showed. Yeah,
and there's little adapters too. For anyone watching on video, this is a little $8 piece. It goes into the Lightning. You plug a mic right in here, and now you've got an iPhone connection for my little lapel mics. And for this one that I've got in front of me, same thing. Plugs into the USB, so I can convert pretty much this one. Anything that I want.
And what's cool about that, Jay, is you can get those with the splitter easily on Amazon. So then now, say I want to interview Jay, and we're live at his office or something. We don't want to set up the DSLR because it's a pain in the ass, and we just don't have time. So we just quickly use the iPhone, have somebody hold it or put it on a stand. And then you can plug two mics in, one to Jay, one to Neil, and the video quality is going to be good. And then the audio is going to be dialed in just from those lav mics. So wired lav mics, I think, are like $20. If you want to go wireless, that's when it gets to $100 or $200. But if you want to like spend a couple, like very little money, you can buy the wired ones, and those work great.
They do. And there's really like diminishing returns on increased quality for these lapel mics.
Yeah.
There's such little hardware in there.
That's more of like a hobby. I think people like when they invest in a lot of video quality, they just want it. That's for their own purpose. Like, it's not necessarily for the views. I started to want just to get it dialed in better because I just kind of like improving the quality But I realized very quickly that that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get more results.
Yep, 100%. And for me, it was efficiency, right? I like to just sit down and be able to record without having to go through all of that friction. The battery, the streaming, or the taking the memory card out, uploading it to the computer. I flip one switch, everything turns on. I record directly into my computer. There's a cool little piece that I use. It's a capture card. If you're going to be able to see it.
Yep.
Anyways, so I've got a battery that charges itself. That's plugged directly into the outlet, so I never have to change the battery. And then I stream all of my content directly into the computer via this capture card in my camera. So for anyone looking to level up, those are some cool workarounds to get rid of some of the friction. But a lot of these things are hard to learn how to use, set up on your own. I had a professional, like you said, come and help me in my studio, and that went a long way.
Big time.
And then,
yeah, just pay the guy to do it. Like, you don't want to spend, if your business is X, you don't want to spend all your time learning video editing. It's not the best use of your time.
100%. Buying and returning
people who
equipment.
know it, just have them come in and show you how to do it, right? Like you said, you can pay someone a nominal fee to come in and set up your studio. Then it's dialed.
Yep, exactly. Let's spend some time on lighting, because I think that's the most important thing and the hardest thing to get right. And it took, I still don't have it right. It wasn't until that guy came and set up my studio that I even looked half decent. And one light is good. I still think more lighting is better. There's some little tricks to really take your production to the next level. Like this light sitting behind me to my right, the hair light hit me from the back. Something a lot of people don't do that really does kind of make a big little difference. But the first thing everyone needs is a key light, right? You're either going to shoot directly in the sun, like facing a window or something, so that sun is really filling you up. And if you have that with a good background, you're set. I mean, that's the golden goose. I've never actually had that. So I've had to make artificial light all around me. So right now I've got kind of 3 lights facing me, one in the front, 2 on the sides, and the one in the back. But not everyone needs that. Like, that's like a studio setup, but also kind of an overkill. Just a 1 ring light in front tends to do the trick. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so the 1 ring light works. I didn't like the ring light as a long-term solution because for some reason it was showing the ring on my eyes. I don't know if you've seen that in people's videos.
Some people like that.
I think, they like it. Or it was showing in my glasses because I wear glasses.
The glasses is a problem,
That is a problem. It was reflecting. So the way you want to do this is you want a good light, and it should be like at a 45-degree angle is what I was told by the lighting guy. So
get a nice cinematic effect.
You could have multiple. Yes, you could have multiple coming at you, but what's cool about it at a 45 is like you have a little bit of shadow on your face. Yeah. And then, like you said, I don't even have it in this video right now, but there's a fill light or a key, so that's the key light. Then there would be a fill light behind you or somewhere else that fills the rest of this space with some light. So that way it's kind of all working together. But that first light, that key light, is the most important one. There is something called softbox, like I was saying earlier, where it's not like harsh on you. So it looks a little bit more natural, like the sun would look. And so this company called Elgato, they make it for streamers really, but they have a thing called a key light. I think it's $200, and it kind of mimics a softbox. And that can just go right on your desk, or you can put it on a stand. And then there's other things where you get like an actual big old softbox, they call it, and it's kind of a big apparatus, but that would go in your studio. And those lights, you range anywhere from $100 up to like $300-$400 max. So it shouldn't be a huge expense to get lighting set up. And then you'll notice the quality of your videos is much better. And then for quick selfie stuff, like if you're in your house or room or something, there's not much, light, you don't have your light set up there, you can just go outside and just, take a walk outside real quick if it's a sunny day, or even, if it's overcast, whatever. The natural light will give you the same look as all these things that are trying to produce light do.
100%. You can't replace the sun. Well, you can. It's just expensive and doesn't always turn out as good. But there's nothing better than natural light. If you can face a window during the day and record, you're going to get pristine lighting. And it's kind of like, if you don't like the way you look, you just keep rotating till you do. I noticed that too. Like, I'll be outside, take a selfie. I'm like, damn, I look old. Yeah.
I rotate this. I'm like, shit, I just took 5 years off my life.
Especially when it's too sunny.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Like, or I have bags under my eyes. Okay, well, rotate. Now you don't. I mean, it's a crazy thing how much light makes a big difference like that.
Yeah, it is. And where it's placed also. I'm going to see if I can get a little. Oh, There's the hair light.
That's your fill light back there.
Yeah, there's the fill light for anyone watching this on video on YouTube or the clip. But yeah, the lighting is a super effective way to take the notch of your content, the quality up, fairly easily and consistently. Not a lot of things will give you the same ROI as investing in a few good lights. And I'll drop some links to some of the lights that I have. They're not expensive. They're newer lights. It's the brand Neewer. I think I paid $200 for the 3 of these that are around me. So really not too bad. And Neil, any other hacks for getting some studio quality content for beginners and people not looking to spend 10 grand?
Yeah, so that light was important, and then the microphones that we're talking about here are important. I think that's going to be your best bet. And then another kind of thing that will keep engagement going is mix it up. Like, so you have a studio look in your office, right?
Yeah.
And what happens is if you become an effective creator, you can give this footage to an editor and they will kind of punch in and punch out. And the reason why they do that is because they want to make some subtle changes based on what you're talking about. And by doing those little things, it keeps the viewer engaged because there's something happening in the video. It's not just flashing on me for a video on me static for the whole 5-minute video if you're doing like a YouTube video. A lot of times people will do 2 angles. So if you have one camera, your phone, or 2 phones, or whatever you want to do, you basically set them up in two spots. One is directly on, you're talking to camera. The other one is at a different angle. And then you switch back and forth between the 2 angles so that there's something going on to keep the viewer engaged. As you become a better communicator, this is less important because you can keep them engaged with just the way you're communicating. But in the beginning, it is kind of cool to mix it up a little bit. Another hack that I found that works really well is, again, going outside and talking and walking. So now you've got like things happening behind you. There's color. Like, I was in Miami recently for a family trip and I did some selfie style videos just walking on the beach, and there's the ocean behind you, there's trees, and there's just shit going on behind you. So the views on those videos was higher than average because the viewers just staying engaged, right? Because there's stuff going on in the video. So walking and talking, movement, something going on behind you, or just switching angles can kind of keep engagement going. So that's another hack you can kind of implement into your content.
Yeah, definitely some cool editing hacks to keep people's attention. Things that I probably need to utilize more as well. Maybe we can do a follow-up on some of that stuff.
Yeah, like I'm not a good editor, but I found one, and there's several guys out there that can do this for you. But when they edit, they'll punch in and out.
Yeah. And
I always wondered why a lot of YouTubers do that. And it's just to, increase view time. It's just a subconscious thing with the viewer, right?
Yeah. And that was another point. I guess you don't edit your own videos. Where did you find an editor? How much do you pay them? What is that process like?
Yeah. So what was happening, Jay, was like, I was spending all my time editing these videos because I like it. It's fun.
It is.
But then you'll quickly realize that this is not the highest and best use of your time, especially if you're in a business where you need to sell, you need to market yourself. So it becomes like a hobby that's not profitable. So then when I was doing this at night, I was like, shit, I need to get an editor because I'm wasting so many hours editing these videos. So Upwork was where I found some really good people. Fiverr is another site you can find people. And then Instagram. You can just simply DM people like, do you know a good editor? Creators you can ask. I was really shocked. There are people, high-level YouTubers that you talk about that were in Vegas. Some of those guys to this day, they have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of subscribers. They edit all their own videos because they're so they want it done the right way. They don't want to outsource it. They're still holding on to that control. And it's probably holding them back from even reaching the next level of success because you're spending all this time editing. So I would definitely outsource the editing. It's just going to free up your time. So my workflow is I have phone videos that don't require editing that I can quickly upload and shoot. I have phone videos that I could quickly turn into reels that I could upload on my own. Doesn't take much time. Those are very user-friendly ways to do it. I have a studio look at my office and my home. So when I shoot those videos, I upload them to Google Drive. The editor that I have takes the file from there, edits it, puts it into another folder saying edited. So there's unedited, then there's edited. Now I look at those and either they're good to go, and that's the best case scenario, or he missed something, or I didn't like this part, can you cut that out, whatever. Or, however you want to approve your content. Once it's ready to go, I go into another folder, which is ready to post. So now I have a 3 formula. It's edited, unedited, ready to post. Now, if it needs work, the editor will come back to it and you could do it again. But that's my workflow. And then in my ready to post folder, I've always got content ready to go. So whether this is short form content or long form content, kind of like my war chest of content, I've got something to post at all times.
Awesome. And everyone's kind of got their own process, but they're all sound pretty similar. I also use an editor. I found him on Fiverr. I tested like 10 different people, gave them the same video.
Yeah.
Whoever edited it best won. And he's great. I started working with him like 5 videos ago. He's good, but pretty cheap. And the videos aren't hard to edit, right? It's talking head. It's me sitting here. You're punching in, punching out, cutting out mistakes. You don't need a cinematic editor who's, cutting scenes and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. It's really pretty simple. It's just time that is better spent creating and doing other things.
And you know what's funny, Jay, is I had a vlog. I wanted to make a vlog about, what I'm doing here, doing this, right? So I had my video guy edit that. It took him a long time to edit these vlogs because there is a lot of different things going on in shots, and he did an amazing job. But it shocked me that, it's not shocking now, but at the time it shocked me that the videos that were talking head that informed people about something that they were searching, those are the ones that did really well and got me a ton of new people and reached people and got me business. The videos that I thought were edited the best with these slick montages and cool music, and the guy spent like days on these edits, if not longer. He might have spent a week on one of them. Only my close friends and family thought those were cool. Like the average viewer did not really give me credit for that work. So at the end of the day, it's more about like the message in the video and less about the slick editing.
Yeah, exactly. That's an important point. And a lot of people who are watching this maybe are still intimidated or don't want to be full-time content creators, but I still think there's a lot of benefit for spokespeople, CEOs, entrepreneurs to have that personal brand, have a branded video, so people can see what they're like talking, what their message is. There's no better medium to portray who you are and what you represent than having a nice video, having some of that branded content done. And I know you do something along those lines where you help these people, kind of a done-for-you service where they come in and apply that expertise over a short period of time. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I've been speaking on this topic for the last couple of years. Events, conferences, classes, and one thing I noticed was I'll come back to the group months later, and everybody agreed with me on the day of that this was something they want to do and they want to get going with it. But like in many cases, 0 people executed on the strategy, or maybe they did a video and then they quit doing them. So what I found was like you get busy with regular day-to-day life, you don't quite know how to do it the right way, or you're worried about doing it the wrong way, or all the things we talked about in the beginning, so you just don't do it. It gets put off and it never happens. So I said, well, hey, why don't, instead of telling everybody how to do it, why don't I just do it for you? Since I already know, I've gone through how to do bad videos, figured out how to do good ones, figured out how to structure it, script it, shoot it, where to put the videos to get the most reach, how to do all that stuff. What if I just brought in a small group of people that really want to jumpstart this, and we just did it for you? So there's a little bit of homework leading into it, but then you come in for one day. It's called Neil's Content Day. Anybody who wants to check it out, you can go to neilscontentday.com. And Neil's with 2 E's. You can check it out and see. But basically what it is you come in for the day. We create a landing page video like that intro video that you just talked about, Jay. We create short form engaging content that's going to reach new people in your market or in your region or even in the country. And then we optimize your profiles. So that way you give people a reason to follow you. So all these basic things that people need to be doing, we set up that online presence in the beginning. And then you leave. Instead of leaving a conference or an event with a list of shit you got to do and anxiety, now you leave feeling like, oh, I got it done. I feel accomplished. Now I know how to do it going forward. So you get like a 20-page workbook on everything we talked about today. You get to shoot the videos and it's kind of done. And then
Love that. And for those of you interested, I'll link that down there in the show notes so you don't have to look too far. But Neil, for anyone who wants to contact you, whether about Neil's Content Day, real estate, content creation, where's the best way to reach you?
So you can hit me up on Instagram. It's at Neil Holm. YouTube, search Neil Holm. Sites on Twitter as well. there. So any social media, whatever you're.
As you should be in this space, right? And I highly recommend going to check out some of Neil's content. It really is grade A. Does an awesome job, and there's notes to be taken just from watching expert creators kind of in their natural environment doing it. So definitely go check that out. And Neil, I wanted to thank you for spending some time with me and my audience today. This went long, which is always a good sign. I usually aim for 30 minutes. We did about an hour. But I love this topic. I love this subject matter. I know that the audience got a lot out of this. So again, I wanted to thank you, and I wanted to applaud you for the great work that you're doing. I'll continue to follow. And yeah, I appreciate you spending the time with us. All right. This has been another awesome episode of Mentors Collective. If you haven't already, subscribe and drop a 5-star review. Thanks, everyone.